My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
Welcome back to Rams Up, your favorite LA Rams podcast. We are part of the Fans First Sports Network. You can follow us on our YouTube channel as well at LA Rams Up. I'm your host, Mark. I'll be joined occasionally by my football gurus, Paul and Ian. Let's get to it. Welcome back, Ram fans. Mark from Rams Up here. You know, over the last month or so, over a handful of episodes, I have been sharing my roster locks, the players I consider to be roster locks for our Los Angeles Rams. And here we are a couple of days from cut down day. Tuesday, the Rams will get down to 53 players. So what I thought I'd do this episode is share my 53-man roster. And I don't intend this to be a prediction of what the roster is going to look like. It's just a process I'm going to follow. And hey, you can tell me where I'm getting it wrong, where I'm getting it right. The decisions that the Rams have to make, I'm going to try to make them here. And the thing is, they have more information than me, obviously, and mainly how healthy are Alaric Jackson and Rob Havenstein. Can they afford to put someone on that injured reserve list where they can pull them back after 4 weeks? They can do that with 2 players this year. Looks like Jonah Jackson and Darius Williams are going to be good to go. So I'll be using that as a guide here as well. But just follow along and you'll see the decisions I make and why I make them. And hey, maybe I'll be 90% correct. I'll be happy with that. Not so much a prediction, just a thought process that I'm going to follow as I build a 53-man roster, pretending to be Les Snead for a day. So here we go. We'll start with the offense. Let's kick this off talking about the 3 offensive position groups: tight end, quarterback, and running back. Really no surprises here. Not a lot of... Let's kick this off with the tight ends, quarterbacks, and running backs. Not a lot to talk about here. I don't think there's going to be much debate about these groups. Now, you'll see an asterisk occasionally. If you see that, that is a player that I'm a little uncertain about, and green indicates a rookie. Tight ends, Parkinson, Allen, and Hunter Long. Quarterbacks, Stafford and Bennett, and there's the first asterisk next to Stetson Bennett. And the running backs, Williams, Corum, Rivers, and Scott. And why the asterisk? Well, could the Rams make a move? Yeah, they very well could. We'll have to see. We could talk quite a bit about Stetson Bennett's viability as a backup quarterback weeks 1 and 2. Is it worth making a change? With the fear that something happens to Stafford in one of those 2 games and it results in a loss, an L early in the year where we might have had a chance for a W. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say about that. A valid concern though. Now, I had said a while back that I've been saying this for a couple weeks. The Rams need to add a running back so that Zach Evans and Boston Scott don't have to carry the load against the Texans. And they did just that. They picked up a running back that you'll probably see a lot of him against the Texans. If you're watching this after the Texans game, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, I think Zach Evans doesn't make this team. And the last cuts are Zach Evans and Miller Forristall, the tight end. Jimmy G suspended, of course, and that's something to consider. What happens to this roster when Jimmy G comes back? It will be another dilemma for the Rams to consider. So last year, this group, same numbers, 3 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs. this year, the same numbers. And so I'll keep a running total here as we go from slide to slide. If you're listening on the pod, bear with me. I will try to keep you up with what the viewers on YouTube are seeing right now. Let's go to the next group. Who do we have? We have the wide receivers. And again, a little bit of debate here about how many wide receivers they're going to carry. They carried 6 last year. I'm saying 7. I'm including Atwell, Johnson, and Smith. Xavier Smith and Tyler Johnson both make the roster. They only had 6 last year, and the last 2 cuts, the undrafted free agents. Now, the asterisk I have next to Atwell is, could they still move him? To me, it makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people don't agree with me on that, including my roundtable partners. I think Paul and Ian both would like to see him stay on this roster. But when we get into this number crunching, as you'll see, I'm not sure if it makes sense. And I'd love to see Xavier Smith and Tyler Johnson on this roster. So we have the 7 wide receivers: Nacua, Kupp, and Robinson, the starters; Atwell, Johnson, and Smith, and the rookie Jordan Whittington. So we have 7 wide receivers, and that brings our total so far to 16, our running total, 16 players. Now, one of the most difficult discussions is, who do we keep on the offensive line? Well, I have 8 guys that I feel really comfortable about. That would be the starters: Alaric Jackson, Jonah Jackson, Steve Avila, Kevin Dotson, and Rob Havenstein. And 3 backups I feel very confident will make this team: Joseph Noteboom, the rookie Bo Limmer, and Warren McClendon. Now, I actually have 9 players on this 53-man roster, 9 offensive linemen, and I have an asterisk next to my 9th guy, Logan Bruss. He has played really well enough to make this roster. This is really a dilemma the Rams are going to have to face here. Remember, Alaric Jackson and Rob Havenstein both nursing sore ankles. Are the Rams going to know by Tuesday whether they are going to be ready to go against Detroit? And even if they're not, would they dare put either one of them on that 4-game injured reserve list where they can come back week 5? Remember, that would mean missing the 49er game. I think they keep them on the roster. And, the Rams are deeper on the interior, in my opinion. So I don't know, man. It's really quite a problem the Rams are going to have here. Last year, they carried 10 offensive linemen, believe it or not. And, I would consider carrying 8 if it was Jonah Jackson that was going to be unable to go that Sunday night game against Detroit. But it looks like he's ahead of Jackson and Havenstein as far as that goes. So I don't know what to do here. I think Noteboom will have to be ready to go in place of Jackson and/or Havenstein, and same for McClendon. And cross our fingers that Jonah Jackson is indeed to go. You carry the 9 offensive linemen. You keep Bruss on this roster. And then maybe when your offensive line is really healthy and you feel much better about it, maybe you move Bruss to the practice squad if he can get there. He could be claimed at this point because he has looked a lot better. Yeah, tough decisions here. The Rams' offensive line, I feel better about this unit as a whole than I have in years, except for the health issue, the injury issues they're dealing with. In my last cuts, Zach Thomas, Casey Leviston, who really hasn't been able to get on the field at all, A.J. Akuri, Paul Wally is going to be upset about that, and Dedich, the undrafted free agent out of USC, he's going to make this practice squad. He's played well too, I think. So there you have it, 9 offensive linemen. And I could be wrong. If you wanted to shave someone off the roster to make room for another player later on when we get to it, then it could be Logan Bruss. But like I say, don't be surprised if the Rams were to do that. Bruss could get claimed by somebody, and I think the Rams are going to keep him on the roster. Probably going to be some disagreement from the Ramily. Next up, we have the edge, and kind of ties into the defensive line. We're going to talk about it in a second. as far as Michael Hoyt goes. I have them carrying 5. Now, Brennan Jackson, I'm just guessing here. Brennan Jackson, if he's not 100%, they put him on the IR, bring him back in 4 weeks, because you know what? We're in pretty good shape at the edge rusher position, in my opinion. Putting Jackson on the IR gives us a chance to keep Mathis. I think he'd be the next guy up. My last cuts are Keir Thomas and Van Valkenburg and Brennan Jackson to IR. Last year, they carried 5. This year, 5. And keep in mind that Michael Hoyt hasn't played in the preseason. I think the Rams are going to utilize him a little bit differently. He's not going to be a pure edge rusher, but he can be. I think he's going to supplement the defensive line, which at this point is an area I'm most concerned about after our top 2 guys, 3 guys maybe. So that's what I'm thinking here. If they keep Brennan Jackson active, Mathis probably goes. And, he's scored very well according to Pro Football Focus, and could depend on his performance against the Texans. This is my best guess at this point. Feel really good about this group overall. Jared Verse highlighted in green there as the rookie in this group. Of course, if Jackson makes the team, he'd be a second rookie. The defensive line is an area that I'm a little concerned about. After Turner and Fisk the rookie, and Tyler Davis, he's going to be a rotational guy, another rookie. Bobby Brown, I think he's an average interior defender. And I'm guessing Durden and Watkins are the other guys, 6 defensive linemen. Last year we carried 7. And the problem with this unit is Murchison, a little banged up. Deshaun Johnson, I could be dead wrong on this. I have him not making this team. This unit, after the top 2 or 3 guys, is really not that strong. Do you keep an average defensive line, a rotational guy at best, at the cost of, cutting an edge rusher, an offensive lineman, a guy in the secondary? If it's your weak unit, do you keep extra guys to supplement them? I went the other way. I'm only keeping 6. And as Paul Wally has said, this is where the Rams defense is going to be most susceptible. Teams are going to try to run it down our throat, up the middle, and hopefully these guys are up to the task. Corey Durden has played well. Watkins, a late arrival, has played well too. He only had that 1 game. He'll play extensively against the Texans, I assume. Watkins has an asterisk because I could be dead wrong on him. It could be Murchison if he's ready to go, or Deshaun Johnson.
ET is Ryan Seacrest here. People always say it's good to unwind, but that's easier said than done. The exception, Chumba Casino. They actually make it easier done than said, or at least the same. Chumba Casino is an online social casino with hundreds of casino-style games like slots and blackjack. Play for fun. Play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes. Sign up now and collect your free welcome bonus at ChumbaCasino.com. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Inside linebackers, last year we carried 3. I'm saying 4 this year. I just do not want to see the Rams cut Omar Speights. I will want him on this roster really bad. So I have Jones, Roseboom, Reeder, and Speights here. The last cuts, Hummel, Neal, and Fatukasi. All 3 of these last cuts could make an NFL roster, just not this one. And I feel really bad about that. Jake Hummel's played really well. If it were me, I might consider keeping Hummel over Reeder, but I'm just reading between the tea leaves. The Rams are keeping Reeder. They're obviously keeping Jones and Roseboom. And so it's either no Speights at all or Speights over Hummel. And I took the latter, Speights over Hummel. So we're up to 40 players at this point. 40 players is our running total. Now we get to the cornerbacks, and this gets a little dicey too. And remember, some of these guys can play safety as well. I got Lake here as a cornerback. He can obviously play safety. And in a minute, we're going to talk about a safety who can play cornerback. And you know what? I kind of flipped a coin on some of these last guys, mainly on this screen here. Sean Jolly over Charles Woods, Josh Wallace, and Cam Lampkin. I really don't think Trey Tomlinson's going to make this team. Last year, 5 cornerbacks. This year, 5 quarterbacks. That's including Quentin Lake. So you have Darius Williams, who looks like he's good to go now. Trey White, who has been tearing it up in scrimmages and in camp, hasn't played in the preseason. Kobe Durant has also not played. Rams feeling really good about him. And then Lake, of course, and I picked Sean Jolly over the 2 undrafted free agents. And I could be wrong on that. Probably should have an asterisk next to Jolly's name. Could very easily be Woods or Wallace, or even Cam Lampkin over Sean Jolly. So pretty good unit. If let's just say a very there's a lot of upside to this unit. Let's put it that way. If Trey White and Darius Williams are at the top of their game, and Quentin Lake, we know what he can do, an emerging star, this is a really good unit. I like it a lot. So we're up to 45 now. And again, if we were going to sacrifice an inside linebacker or a wide receiver, this is where you could add a player here in the secondary, add Josh Wallace or Charles Woods perhaps. The safety group, last year 5, this year 5. And I have 2 rookies, the drafted Kinchins and the undrafted free agent McCullough, along with John Johnson, Cameron Curl, and Russ Yeast. And yes, I have an asterisk next to Russ Yeast. He's another guy that can play a cornerback type role, can be a nickel back, play the star position as well. My last cuts, Jason Taylor and Tanner Engel. And Taylor's starting to come on. He had kind of disappeared last year on the practice squad, and in the first preseason game, kind of invisible. Tanner Engel, I think had more snaps than Taylor. I think they flipped it in preseason game number 2. But back to these starters, Johnson and Curl, pretty solid. Kinchins and McCullough, man, I love both these guys. I'd love to see them keep McCullough, and I'm thinking they will. And Russ Yeast. Could Russ Yeast get bumped by Jason Taylor? Probably not. Could Russ Yeast, if you want to call him a cornerback-ish type player, be bumped by Charles Woods or someone like that? Probably not. Probably wrong on that, but I do have a little bit, a small bit of doubt about whether he is going to be on this 53-man roster. And again, if you think I'm wrong, dead wrong, or if I'm getting this wrong in any fashion, please comment, tell me where I am. I'm not pretending to be an expert. I'm not telling you this is going to be the 53-man roster. Just giving it my best shot, walking through this, trying to make all these decisions. And so we're up to 50 now. And then, of course, we have the three special teamers, long snapper Ward, punter Evans, place kicker Cardi, and, Ethan Evans, a little disappointed with him. We need to see him crushing kicks, especially in the punting game. So maybe, hasn't had a lot of chances actually in the preseason. So we'll hope to see some improvement there. This special teams unit, so god-awful last year, has to be better. It just has to be better, especially with these new rules. Well, there you have it, folks. My 53-man roster. Again, not a prediction, just fun walking through these paces, trying to figure out what the Rams might be thinking, what they might do. And man, there are just too many questions to get this nailed down with any amount of confidence. Will the Rams really replace Stetson Bennett? I suspect not. I think they're going to roll with them and cross their fingers. And you know what? I know there's a lot of concern about his ability to lead this team, but remember, you throw him out there with this offensive line and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, might not be all that bad. And the run game, don't forget about the run game. Can Stetson Bennett hand off? I think so. Are Aleric and Big Rob going to be ready to go for Detroit? Do one of them potentially go on IR, designated for return after 4 weeks? I think the Rams are not going to risk that. They'll let the roster take a hit elsewhere, knowing that they have to keep Aleric and Rob ready to go when they are ready. Not going to put them on the shelf for 4 weeks. And where does that leave Logan Bruss? Does he really make this 53-man roster? Is Tutu here to stay? 7 receivers. That's a lot of receivers to carry. They all deserve it, except maybe not Tutu. And again, I know there's some folks out there that really want him to have his last final shot in this offense, but it could be a luxury the Rams can't afford. I have him on the roster, though. The defensive line, love Fisk, love Kobe Turner. I'm willing to ride with Bobby Brown. After that, Tyler Davis, the rookie, give him a shot, obviously. A little bit thin after that. So I only have 6 defensive lines, and my argument is it's a weak unit. Let's not just keep a 7th guy, add a 7th guy to a weak unit. If we can't find someone off the street to help this unit, then you roll with 5 or you roll with these 6 defensive linemen. Who are the 5th and 6th defensive linemen now? And Paul Wally had made a prediction they were going to bring in a seasoned veteran to help this unit out. That hasn't happened, and it doesn't look like it's going to. Now, a lot can happen after Tuesday, even after the 53-man roster is released. That's the other part of this. There's going to be guys getting cut that maybe the Rams want to bring in, take a look. And this would be the unit that they would be eyeballing for help, I think. The edge rushing group, the big question is Brennan Jackson. He was a guy that I thought could very well go on injured reserve, designated to return after 4 weeks. Why? Because I like this unit even without him. So I have them carrying 5, including O'Shawn Mathis. Does Brennan Jackson actually make this initial 53? If they do, someone else is going to have to go. And my money would be on Mathis. And I think he'll get picked up this time. I don't think he'll make it to our practice squad. Inside linebacker, not convinced they're going to carry 4. Do they keep Spates and Reader? We'll see. I have them doing just that. Jacob Hummel, the odd man out. Could be wrong about that as well. And the cornerbacks and safeties. So when you have this much flexibility and when you have 2 or 3 undrafted free agents that look like they are NFL caliber players, it's a good problem to have. Rams have some decisions to make. I have them carrying 10 if they are willing to give up one of those offensive linemen, perhaps. I hope they don't. If they were willing to carry 3 inside linebackers, I hope they don't. You could add an extra cornerback, a guy like Charles Woods, Josh Wallace. So the Rams have some options there. But good problem to have. Good problem to have. Overall, this 53-man roster, it's probably the deepest and most well-rounded 53-man roster they've had in a few years. Pretty deep. No great weaknesses except the aforementioned, depth along that defensive line, that interior. Really feel good about this unit. We just got to be healthy. Got to get those offensive linemen squared away. And the Rams may not have their answer come Tuesday about Rob and Aliric, which could dictate the final cuts on this 53-man roster. Feel free to comment. Tell me where I got it right. Tell me where I got it wrong. Just be nice. We're all family here, right? Just for fun. Out here from Rams Up, and go Rams. That's going to do it for this episode. Remember, you can reach us at ramsuppodcast@gmail.com. And don't forget about our YouTube channel. Our handle is at laramsup.com. Till next time, keep the horns up, stay safe, and have fun out there.